Hey yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Manny, and I'm coming to you live from the Manager Media headquarters here in Worcester, Massachusetts. And I'm with my boy Jaimes Flores. IG Worcester is here in the house, my guy.
What's going on?
Happy you're here. Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
I don't know what the hell it took so long for us to do this, but
it's all good.
I'm so happy you're here. That's all that matters.
Yeah, man.
I look up to you very much in the community. And the funny thing is you're like a man of very little words, very quiet. You're like a ninja. You come and go. You do what you do, and then you get out of there. But I always see you in the community, always standing for what's right. And I just want to thank you for what you do. And now we can get to you talking more about who you are. So let's start right there. Who are you? Who is Jaime Flores?
Well, Jaime Flores is born and raised in Worcester. Lived here all my life, and long story short, man, growing up here, seeing the things that I saw, literally seeing the city die twice, and they didn't want to see that happen again. I felt like if I can contribute back to the city was through photography and making sure that I can, showcase area, mom and pop shops, neighborhoods that were, neglected, that me and you or people that look like us go to,
come from,
yeah.
And we saw so many things that we grew up with and patron just die and disappear right before our eyes. Gentrification hit us hard.
Yeah, some of the neighborhoods are, they're definitely feeling the effects of gentrification. But I wanted to, through photography, make sure that I showcase and support these local businesses, entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And through the photography as well, you're trying to remove the stereotypes and the negativity that what naysayers were thinking about certain neighborhoods, why they so hesitant to go there, and try to remove that through the photography or through video and replace it with some other thing that they can now look at and say, oh, wow, like shit, that I want to go there.
Yeah.
Make it a destination for these people because, they need help too.
Right. And showing it in a positive light, because it's not all about negativity. There's a lot of beauty in our city, in the people of our city, where we live, and showcasing that it just isn't done enough. And I want to say, before I actually met you, before I actually knew you, I was an IG Worcester fan. I had no idea who you were.
Appreciate
I just knew that I liked the work that was being put up and the perspective of my city that wasn't always being shown. So thank you.
I'm glad. Yeah, and I appreciate you being a fan and still following to this day, because we did have our setbacks where people, and I don't know how, but obviously we had to do a whole new page because people complaining about our positivity. So I guess the negativity was overwhelmed.
And that's Worcester people.
That's Worcester people.
Because people would care about IG Worcester, right?
Right.
Not necessarily. No. I shouldn't say that. It is expanding in space, but only Worcester people would care to be negative. Maybe not. I don't know. This trolls.
No, they do, man. This is and
I don't understand.
I know somebody and she has said it to me many times. For people to come from Worcester and to be very negative towards Worcester is kind of crazy. Yeah. That mindset is fucking ridiculous.
How is it?
I don't understand how people can be like, "Oh, I'm from the city of Worcester," and then not be proud of it, or at least try to make a contribution to where if something isn't working, to go ahead and try to create something that's going to progress the city in a brighter way, and be part of the movement that we're trying to do here. And I think a lot of people have an idea that they want to make Worcester a better place. Yeah. For me, I've always been saying Worcester, in order for Worcester to change, it has to look back at its past and benchmark some of that stuff, as well as making this place a destination. You can't have an airport here and have it be so far away.
Well,
it makes it very fuck a baseball field.
Do you think people want to fly in for our baseball field?
Fuck that. No, they don't. No, they don't. No, they don't. They don't want to do that shit. Unless you're a hardcore advocate for a baseball game. I'm not a big fan of baseball, to be real.
Yeah.
I think it's a boring sport, and I think it's a waste of the taxpayers' money.
It's American leisure time. It's traditional.
Not in this city, though. Not in this city. It's a waste. I think the money could have been used for other things much better. You could have implemented some of that money towards better urban planning. Better place marking on certain places, making downtown more alive.
Yeah.
You can't have a sign downtown that says downtown is the answer, and you ain't got shit down there.
Right. No, literally. I mean, we have a few restaurants, a lot that I can't even afford to go to, and if I could, I probably wouldn't want to go to. I mean, Ruth Chris, whatever it's called, steakhouse. I can't afford one of those plates, and even if I could, why would I spend $100 on a steak when I can go spend $20 on?
Yeah, man, eso está caro, bro. I don't want to do that. That's too expensive.
What else is there to do down there? I truly don't know. I think there's like an axe throwing place. I know there's a theater.
I like that. I enjoyed that. I did that a couple of times downtown. If you haven't been there, definitely go down there and support the crew that's down there. It's not even expensive. Yeah. It's not expensive, but if you never throw the axe or shoot an arrow, so good. I think that's very. For me, I think like I'm aiming at something. Yeah, I'm aiming at something. But I thought that was a good experience. That was a good what they had down there with the axe throwing and stuff like that. But I will say one side, it took the whole Bancroft side. They had one owner who owns like all those properties down there, and he tried to revitalize that area, that specific side of Franklin Street. Mm-hmm. And because the other side, it took so long for that other side, that was it Front Street, to be revitalized to a point where it's at right now. It was just too long of a gap. Yeah. And I think it contributed to the other businesses on Franklin Street kind of dying out, because that's how many times you're going to keep going to Franklin Street. Right. Like how many times you're going to keep going to, like, I love Chashu's, right? I'll go to Chashu's all the time. Yeah. But what I wasn't a fan of on that side was the Pizza Revolution spot.
I never heard of it.
That's the problem.
Yeah. I will say Ziggy Bombs.
I like Ziggy Bombs.
He's doing his thing. Like that's the.
But he's a cheap.
From my head, that's the only reason to go to Franklin Street.
I mean, that could be one of them.
Kind of cool.
That could be cool. I like J Mac for the fact that it's free, and then people can use that space to if you're an up and coming artist and you need a platform. J Mac is a great platform for that. What is the other one? I like the coffee spot. Like, I'm a big advocate of coffee. I try to go into any coffee shop that I can possibly find and just sit and relax and enjoy. Brew on the Grid, yeah.
I actually like that. They're great family-owned business, and they real kind, and the coffee's pretty good. Have you been there?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But like I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the one. I forget what the owners were in the past. I think it was part of the whole Bancroft setup. But now they've got a family, a Brazilian couple that's there that's owning. I think that particular Brew on the Grid and the beer garden. Okay. So I forget their names, but mira.
But they're
Fala Portuguese right here.
Oh yeah?
Nah, I'm just joking. I don't know, man. That's that Duolingo right there. That's that Duolingo right there, man.
Any little bit is better than that at all.
Yeah. But it's very similar to. It's almost similar to Spanish. If you listen clearly, you can pick it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of words that I do notice that are very similar. So yeah, I'm able to follow along.
Yeah.
My problem, I don't know. I have a glitch in my language department up here in my brain, so I can understand Spanish. I'm cool if you talk to me. I can understand you, but for whatever reason, I can't speak back to you, and I can understand a little bit of Portuguese.
I can relate to what you're saying. I can definitely relate to you saying. My mother being from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and my father being from Bogota, Colombia. As a kid, my mother never really enforced Spanish on me. Yeah. Like, even though she spoke directly to me in Spanish, right? But every time I responded to her, it was in English. Yeah. So the person that was learning was my mom. My mom was learning the English. But I was never, forced, or punished for not speaking the language. My mother never really did stuff like that. But, the idea that a lot of it kind of like instilled in me anyways. Yeah. So I still understand a lot of it. Pero yo puedo hablar poquito, like I be telling people, like
you did better than me already.
Yeah, no, I can communicate, like, to the point where they understand what I'm saying. Yeah. And so it may not be 100%, but I'm I can read it. I can if it's on paper, I can say it. Like, it's stuff like that. Nothing crazy.
Well, speaking of your parents,
Yeah.
your dad, Jaime Flores Sr.,
Yes, he is.
is quite, I don't know if famous is the right word, but definitely a pillar, an institution, a leader in this community, in the city of Worcester. We have gotten he has paved the way for many of us. And I'm sure it was a great inspiration on obviously who you are, but behind a lot of what you do in the community as well. Can we talk a little bit about your dad?
Yeah, of course. The guy's,
tell me what you think
he's
about that guy.
he's
Be careful,
he's the guy's gonna be 80 years old, but he looks like he's like in his 50s.
He looks amazing.
The guy.
I hope I look that good when I'm there.
He's still running around, which we like to discuss and call it fast walking.
Very quick with it.
Yeah, he I mean, back in the day, I guess he was very fast. So, but yeah, the guy's done a lot for the community. Growing up as very poor as a child, and just had this conversation with him yesterday that growing up as a child, very unfortunate the situations that he was in growing up in Colombia, moving here, and then working in the city of Worcester, where he realized at one point, like shit, people need help, and
right.
How can I help? And his aha moment came and said to him, like, this is what you can do. What do you know best? And he's like, to himself, of course, I fucking run.
Yeah.
And so he decided to use running as a way to raise money and contribute back and help kids and people with HIV and et cetera, like stuff like that, to contribute back, and how he can raise monetary needs for, what is these businesses called? But to help contribute back to these little foundations that needed
like
help. Nonprofits. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. So like the nonprofits and whatnot like that. So he did it for a long time, and he did over 32 Boston marathons. I think it was 33 Boston marathons.
Wow!
And most of those marathons that he ran, he used that to raise money and become a legend of his own. And so, not 1 cent did he ever take for himself and say, I can use it for myself. Nah, the guy is not selfish at all. And everything that he did gave back to the community, for the kids that needed GEDs, people who needed help with HIV assistance, people who needed, who are homeless, the list can go on.
Right.
And
basically anything that the community is afflicted with, he's raising money to try to battle those issues.
Yeah, I mean,
best we can.
The best he knew how to do it, and that was his way of doing it. And then he helped Friendly House raise money, the Boys and Girls Club raise money,
which institutions still here,
which those things still happen to this day. Yeah,
great numbers of people in the community, which arguably, if there wasn't people like your dad showing interest and engaging and helping these institutions, they could have failed to exist by now.
Yeah, the kids, the ones I think of the most, I can't name a nonprofit foundation off the top of my head, but the Boys and Girls Club and Friendly House, those things come to mind. But like, it's the kids for me that were able to attain their GEDs. People who come from, unfortunate homes, very impoverished areas. It is those kids that he had the most impact, I think, because he gave them a gateway to like get that.
Yeah.
And shit, I wish somebody, I wish there was more of him, right? More people that thought like him, like, how can I do this? But he did his thing, and he's still running around, and he's and a street name is being named for him.
That's amazing. That you were able to accomplish that. You did give me a little heads up, and I'm very, very excited to be a part of it. I will be there. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about that. There's going to be an honorary street naming for your dad. That's pretty dope.
I think so. I laugh about it because I'm like, I'm gonna drive by and I'm gonna tell people that's my name.
That's your street. You see I'm gonna tell my kids that's my street.
That's my street right there. But no, it's going down April 18th at 1 p.m. on the corner of Hawthorne and Maine, right there where the WCUW radio station is at.
Wow,
where he started his career doing radio, bringing the first Latin radio show to the city of Worcester. And so it kind of like all cycles back to that moment right there.
I'm gonna have to get him on the show because we don't want to waste the whole interview.
He's
amazing.
Well, yeah,
he paved the way for people like me to be able to do what I'm doing today. Thank you so much, by the way, for me to be sitting here and having a platform that people actually care about and listen to. And you know what my platform is. A lot of it is community. A lot of it is doing what your dad did, letting our community know what education, information, resources out here to better their own lives.
You're doing that. Like, I remember the day you came to me. I know you were working at another radio station, but I remember we were outside. We were doing something with the fridges, and you came to me and you told me, "Hey, I got this idea," and I told you, "I love that idea. That I think you should go with it, and I think that would fit perfectly with you." And that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago now, maybe 6. I don't know. I lost track of time. I think it was like 2020. No, it was like 2019. It was before. It was
a while ago. But I still remember the moment you coming around the car and you finding me. I'm like, "Holy shit, man, what's going on?" And then you telling me I got this idea, and I'm like, "I think you should run with that. I think that's a good idea that you should do because it personifies who you are."
Thank you.
You know, and I think you're doing a hell of a job with this.
Thank you. Considering who you are and who your dad is for you, that's a hell of a compliment. Thank you.
No, of course, man. I mean, you're giving a voice to the voiceless, I think, you know. You're getting people on here and having them speak, you know, and I see people's in the room, you know, who didn't have an outlet, you know, and what you're providing is the voice and giving them a platform to be people to be seen. Yeah. And I think that's an awesome thing that, of course, you're doing. So one day somebody's going to be like, "Manny, we're going to name a street after you."
Stop it.
You know what I mean?
I already do. I tell my kids Alvarado Ave is my street.
Alvarado Ave.
Because, Chandler, is that going to be John Cox? I had a question for you. This might get a little contentious, a little heated. John, bear with us.
Come on.
Considering what I do, I always kind of go back and forth, and I wonder if it's something you ever had, Jaimes Sr. as well, or Senor Flores. You know, I have a monthly show with the city manager, which you watch all the time. Thank you so much.
Of course.
I always keep popping in there and letting people know exactly how you feel and what is, what isn't. Sometimes I feel really conflicted, you know, like giving a platform to someone of that caliber, when I could be taking that time to give a platform to someone, you know, just regular in the community who isn't always seen, because the city manager is always seen. Let's be real, right? Yeah. The mayor, for example.
Yeah.
I actually hit that show's on hiatus because I want to make sure that it's a fair playing field. Now, I don't want to put no one on my show more than others, or platform them. So until after the election, I don't know, we'll reboot that show. But I guess my question is, how do you feel about me doing that? And do you think it's good for the community that I, you know, have that window or conduit of contact between the community and the people that are leading the community?
I mean, I will say first, the first thing that comes to my mind is that this is your show. Mm-hmm. Like this is your thing. This is your baby. This is your product. This is something you put together. This is something you show up to do every day because you feel passionate about doing it. And whoever you have on your show is who you want, you know, or what your team agrees to have on there. Regardless of somebody's whack ass opinion about not having or having, you know, somebody there. You know, the idea is that this is what you're doing. This is what you're getting paid to do. And the people
we are
out
looking
there,
for sponsors. So I would like to get paid. So if you want to be a sponsor of Manny J Media, please hit us up at mannyjmedia@gmail.com. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course, man. No, this is no doubt. Like, I don't mind you having anybody on, bro. Like, I'm willing to listen, you know, because this is right now this is a local thing, you know, and I'm sure one day your status will level up and you're going to be interviewing other people, you know, because I'm sure that's what you aspire to be.
Yeah, I mean, that
you know, you don't want to just
honestly,
you don't want to just keep um, doing the same thing because
right.
it's not going to move you or progress you to move forward. And the idea is to always try to elevate. And how can you elevate is having as many different people on here, you know, who are going to be able to, you not just showcase them to your audience, but they're going to be able to showcase you to their audience, and hopefully, you know, your platform and you know your runway to take off is going to be, you know, explosive. And I don't mind you having the city manager. You know what I mean? Like, I've known the city manager. I don't know him personally, but I've known him throughout the years. I mean, he will tell you the story how we used to play, you know, sports together. And you know, again, bro, this is your show, and I want this to be a Manny product, right? Or I want it to be John's product, or I want it to be Mr. Munchie's product, right?
Yeah. Which, by the way, shout out to my great production team, right? Tom, I renamed you. Y'all look like you,
my
Tom,
man,
all the redheads.
My man Tom. My man Tom.
John Keogh of Hollywood Film Group and Mr. Munchies on my production team. Thank you guys so much. I
hope that answered your question. You know, I mean, I could be, you know, an asshole and be like, nah, son, like don't put that man.
That's
on.
What I was expecting.
Don't put that man on your show, all right? Even though I may not agree with everything he says or does, a lot of it could be, you know, a lot of it could be controversial that he's doing. You know, some of it could be, some may interpret it as him not really being for the community. But I will say this, and this is something I've been telling a lot of people, is that this city, the idea for this city, and this is my interpretation, this is my opinion, nobody got to follow this shit, but I feel like the people that are put in play here are not necessarily trying to give the greatest quality of life for the people. And what they're trying to do ultimately is grow the economics of the city, like the economic growth of the city. And you see that it's been very, very apparent because the cost of living has gone up.
Yeah, dramatically.
They're instilling things into the city that nobody asked. All we're asking for is a greater quality of living. You know, let's make this place something that could be walkable, something that could be where people come to and support the local entrepreneurs who are here. In my opinion, they're not doing that. They're not doing that. They've just been instilling this, city manager, and then city council has been just like, go do what you need to go do.
Yeah.
And city council, I feel like, has relinquished that power. Even though they hired the city manager, I feel like they relinquished their power to him and say, we hope you do the best. Yeah. And not really kind of like...
I mean, I think that comes from the extreme division that is on the city council right now. So everyone's throwing their hands up because they can't work together.
It could be, there's no bipartisan. I get it. But damn, bro, like, because you're going to be selfish, you know, you're going to be really selfish, and then you're just not affecting your the other decision making. You're affecting the community.
Yeah.
You know, and when you affect the community, it's just a matter of time before you are no longer representing the community.
Right.
You know, you're going to be voted out. You know, and I think that's the key. Like, if you're not going to be standing there and advocating for a greater good, for a greater humanity, for the better, you know, prosperity for the city, nah, you got to go. Yeah, you got to go, because if you're being stagnant and you're just sitting there delaying things and you're out there trained to be something, nah, you got to get off. You got to go. You got to relinquish that position and let somebody who's going to actually make changes, who's going to make persuasive changes, who's going to communicate with the community and be able to effectively, you know, bring in change. Not in the sense of how much more can we increase the cost of living here. That's not working. that's not working.
Yeah.
We're
going to talk about more about that in just a second. We got to take a moment to go thank our sponsors. So, John, before I trip over any more of my words, take it away, my brother. There's a commercial. And welcome back to Interviews with my man, Jaimes Flores. Thank you so much for joining me, man. We were getting a little deep into the politics stuff, and I want to hear more.
Which I don't like.
I know. We'll get out of it in a second, but I
will say, though, I will talk about
how your mind works.
Appreciate it.
Around how the city malfunctions.
A lot.
And just talking about, like, it's refreshing to talk to someone with common sense. Don't you agree?
I appreciate that. Yeah. I hear you, bro.
Because he's smart, but smart isn't everything. Common sense is a big
You know what it is, man? I don't know if this goes well with what you're saying, but I will say, and I tell this to my kids all the time, and I get this from Albert Einstein, that your imagination is greater than knowledge. And what I mean by that is that we can't be, we can't show up in public all the time thinking we're the smartest person in the room. Nah, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. You know why? Because it's always the imagination of people who are going to help contribute to a greater Worcester.
Yeah.
And with that, those people are going to be the ones that are going to make the initiative to change the city. It's not the city creating businesses. Right. They give them opportunities. Yes. Could they be better? Definitely. 1,000%. But it's people's imaginations that's going to change stuff. And I feel like as much as I think I'm intelligent, I try to relate back to when I was a kid and use more of my imagination, because that's where I'm more at peace. That's where I'm more creative. My words can be only so much, but it's my thought process and the imagination that I have can be endless. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I do. And, honestly, it brings me back to when I was young. I never, I didn't know anything about the government or City Hall or the State House or the people that were running it, and nor did I care at all. I thought the people who were leading the city were people like your dad, people like my mom. My mom was someone who didn't work but stayed home, and she volunteered, so that way she had the freedom to take care of her kids as a single mother, right. But still contributing to her community. People like Parley Jones, Brenda Jenkins, so many others. I can go on and on, that really led the community and created different programmings and nonprofits, and actually went and made a difference in the systems that are in place, so that they were equitable. That's the right word, but inclusive, diverse, that crazy DEI word. So my perspective of who the leaders were is completely different than who the people are getting paid to lead are. What's your perspective on that?
Well, first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Brenda Jenkins. And the reason why I would say that is because growing up in the 90s here in the city, I was part of this group called the Y Lead. And the Y Lead was this. I don't know how they created it, but they came together and they created the. They grabbed a group of kids from Burnco Middle, and I forget how it went down, but we were part of this organization for the YMCA, and we became youth leaders. And part of that group of youth leaders was Roberto Diaz. Who does the Worcester Faith?
What's the Interfaith right now?
Worcester Interfaith, yeah.
Executive director.
So shout out to Roberto. And Brenda Jenkins was part of the team that helped us become mentors for the kids. Yeah. For me, for a kid that was lost. I was lost growing up, and not to get all sentimental and shit, but they helped you know, create a distraction in my life. And with them implementing their you know, the YMCA and the Y Lead among me, they instilled a lot of good habits and good leadership roles, and I think I carry that to this day.
Absolutely.
And I think you still see that within me, and if you see Roberto, and if you met anybody else who were part of the that organization, you would see how we still carry some of those things. But yeah, so what was the question again? My bad, son.
I forgot too. I was all up in your stuff.
But
does anyone out there remember?
So I just I think you mentioned something about inclusivity.
My perspective. Sorry, I remember now. My perspective of who the actual leaders are in the community are not the people that are getting paid to lead.
No, that's real. That's 1,000%. Yes, 1,000%. When you mention people like Parlay and Brenda and the people I just mentioned, like Roberto and I don't like to think that I'm a leader in the city. I feel like I really don't.
Listen, between you and IG Worcester and your family, who your dad is, who your wife is, who your children are.
I think those are just.
By the way, you have amazing children. Congratulations on doing such a good job as a dad.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, well, again, not to
give you a little one.
I try to like instill the better version of myself into them. Yeah. Growing up as a kid the lifestyle was different. It's different.
No, listen.
And now,
right? Not the 80s.
Well, I know I'm
great time.
81. I was born in 81.
Okay.
I lived. I can remember at least 9 years of 6 years of the 80s.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, that I remember. I remember. I look at photos now, and I'm like, oh shit, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember doing that. But yeah, growing up in some of the 80s and the 90s. Yeah, man. A lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Not as complicated as it is with like the whole social media and stuff like that. But being able to, I will say this though. This is what I'll say with me growing up. That 10 years of my life, I lived in a different area. I lived outside of the city in a place called Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
And so 10 years of my earlier life, that's where I grew up. So when we mention things about walking in nature, and stuff like that, that's literally all I had to do. So a lot of that stuff was instilled in me when I was a younger kid. And then life changed when my stepfather lost his job while we were living in Gardner. And then we had to move back to the city. And then obviously it was a different environment.
Right.
Different environment. We moved we had a
lot less trees, a lot more people.
Facts. We lived in a townhouse in Gardner, and then when we got fired, boom. The choice. I don't know why the choice was to move back to Worcester, but we did, and we did that, and we immediately moved to Plumlee.
That's why.
Okay. And I dreaded that shit, but it became part of who I am.
Yeah.
And just.
What's the biggest thing you learned growing up in Plumlee Village? Because you're so far removed from where you were, living in, essentially, because you live there. I like to share this all the time. Doesn't it feel like a jail cell? It's like, listen, it's all concrete and metal. And so it's like you have it's like jail, one big jail cell with a bunch of little jail cells connected to it for the bedrooms.
Yeah.
And it's almost like conditioning. I said when I lived in Plumlee, I sat in the living room.
It could be like that. It could be like that.
Low key conditioning, like preparing people for prison.
It
but
could be.
You didn't end up down that road. You ended up where you are today.
No, yeah. I mean, what
that looked like, that journey for you.
So the journey was, when that immediate. Well, I remember moving the first day when we moved, and I was like, "Yo, ain't no way that we moving in here.
Yeah,
this is no way." Like I said, we had a townhouse. 3 floors with a basement.
Yeah. And a whole bunch of trees in the backyard.
Sandbox.
Backyard, first of all.
Yeah, with a sandbox, bro. Like it was that type of it was like that, right? And I would play on the streets. When people when you see those memes and then people were like they show people like playing on the streets and like this is what the 80s and the 90s were.
It sure was.
Exactly playing baseball on the street. Yeah. That's what it was. And then we moved to Plumlee and I was like, what the is this? What is this cement concrete cold,
Yeah.
dark, because it was black. It was black inside, like the floors are black.
Yeah.
And then the walls were dingy.
Smell like.
And the thing I could be grateful for is that my stepfather was part of the maintenance crew there,
Okay.
and so he did a hell of a job of kind of like revitalizing the apartment itself and making it seem more livable and more housey, I guess, right?
Which goes to say, if it doesn't affect you, out of sight, out of mind, but when you're living it every day,
Yeah,
you do want to do something about it.
yeah, and then because I grew up. And I remember a lot of my youth being in Gardner, but coming to Plumlee and knowing and seeing the different individuals that lived there, it wasn't like I wasn't aware because I got family that lived in like Holyoke and Springfield and stuff like that in New York. But now physically living there, it did have some effects on me, psychologically. And what I found was I needed to keep myself out of there. And so I would go to school, and school was like from 7:15 in the morning to fucking 1, 2 or 3. Yeah.
Depending if you stay down to school or not.
Yeah. And like I said, it was in middle school when the whole YMCA thing came about with Brenda Jenkins and James Bond and all those people. They came and they kind of like, they don't know, but like they rescued me.
Wow.
Yeah, they took me out, and they caused a distraction in my life. At that time, I didn't know. I wasn't aware of it. Yeah. Right, but it was show up to the YMCA, and you have access. You have membership for the entire year for however long you want to be part of this. Just come to the YMCA, but once a week you would have to, we would have like these meetings and pontificate like certain things of ideas that we wanted to do. And so all that kind of distracted my life from getting into trouble. And then I found work. And my first job at 14 years old, I was working at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I would take up as many hours as I possibly could to kind of keep myself from like just being in trouble.
Right.
And then when I got into high school, I decided to play football. And with football, you had school, football practice, and then work. Yeah. And then at times, and if I wasn't working, I was at the YMCA. Wow. That was literally my home. Schedule. Never home.
Just to sleep.
Just to sleep. I tell my kids that to this day. I'm like, listen, I found distraction. Yeah. I found things that were good for me. Good distraction. Getting myself into good trouble. And doing that allowed me to, instill and practice and become a better person, I think. And being able to say, hey, listen, having that aha moment one day and just saying, well, shit, if I'm going to live here and build my life here, I got to do something to participate in the community. And that's when I started picking up. I picked up photography about 20 plus years ago. But using it as a tool to communicate and affect how people saw the city, that happened about 10 years ago. Yeah. And so, yeah, man, just growing up in the city, man, it definitely had an impact on me. So when I tell you earlier, I seen the city die twice, it's because when I got here, the Galleria and the downtown was popping. You had McDonald's, you had, not the McDonald's is the shit, but McDonald's. But you had McDonald's downtown, you had the Galleria downtown, you had Strawberry downtown, you had all these things to go downtown for people to go and do.
And you didn't even necessarily need money. Like Strawberry.
You didn't need money. You could have gone there and just listened to music, right?
Yeah, it was
the spot. And then you had some arcades, you had the movie theaters that was downtown, you had things where you had the Midtown Mall, you had the Galleria that was there. There was plenty of options to do, right? Yeah. Even though I found myself going there very rare, but it was there, and I would see it a lot because we would take the bus from Burnco. That's where I went to high school. From Burnco all the way down to the YMCA, literally crossing the entire city to get there. And and then the second time I saw the city die was when they tried to revitalize the mall. And they came out with the whole common outlets, and they tried to brand it as like this uppity saving rich. It was very backwards hypocrisy shit that they were doing,
Right.
and it was terrible.
That makes sense.
It didn't make no sense. And then that was just a matter of time
Every
before
time I went, it was empty.
it was a matter. Yeah, and then it was a matter of time before that died out. And I worked in that mall.
Yeah.
I worked in that mall. My one of my second job that I ever had was
Where'd you work?
it was a Sunglass Hut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Expensive. Oh, no.
Let me.
I only
let me
went
tell
to the mall for Auntie Annie's. Yo, them pretzels.
son, I tell you right now.
Them pretzels.
Yeah, I tell you right now. Working at that mall, bro. Like I discovered a lot of things. I discovered Obama Pain, the sandwich spot.
Yeah.
I discovered going the
And the food court was dope. Panda Express. No. Listen, when I was a kid.
Listen, but that's all we had. That's all we had. And so, yeah, did I eat that? I ate that. There was other options as well. There was the Panda, the Obama Pan. You had the D'Angelo's that was there.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell.
But we had options.
We definitely had options. We had a lot of things. And then that mall, fucking shit the bricks.
Yeah.
Like that just died out as well. And
it stayed there pretty much abandoned for a couple of years, right?
And now we live currently in 2025 and you ain't got no movie theaters. You don't have a mall. You don't have I'm missing it. There's numerous things that
all those businesses like Strawberries.
You're missing
we were
it.
able to go and
There's no place for the youth to go to. You can only go so much, to unless you're part of like the YMCA or you're part of the Boys and Girls Club. But I feel like that kind of like panders to like the Black and brown community, which is a good thing, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the Black and brown community.
Yeah, keep us out of the trouble. I like that.
Things that you had, but at the same time, I see what you're saying in that they earn their keep off the backs of Black and brown community. Really.
I'm gonna have to agree on that.
But we are running out of time. Unfortunately, I'm so sad that we got to wrap it up. So before I let you go, the reason why we do this show is to inspire our community, inspire those young people who look just like us, who, when we were younger, we had to look a lot harder to find people like us to inspire us. So what would your word be to the community out there who is looking up to you, who's looking up to a lot of folks like us, to inspire them to lead a journey in their lives similar to ours to get us to where they may be at some level of success rather than, like I heard a term last night, the trauma to prison pipeline, which I thought was dope. Shout out to Rissa Cares.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. The trauma to prison pipeline is a real thing. I won't further elaborate on that, but I mean,
that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother thing. But I will say that I can only say from my perspective, and this would be my journey was as a 17-year-old. My journey was to, I picked up the camera, and I found that taking photos led me on a journey, and it led me to travel. And at 17 years old, I'm traveling to the Carolinas. I traveled to St. Louis. I traveled to Toronto. I found myself traveling.
Bro, by the way, is your page public?
Not my personal page, but my photography. My photography page is.
You are still well traveled to this day, and I love watching you travel the world.
Yeah, and I appreciate it, bro. But the things that I instilled in with me is that I find reading to be a way of escapism. I find traveling to be a way of escaping. I find physically staying active as a way of trying to escape. And I find getting yourself involved in the community to change and escape what we are suffering from now. Right. But the idea is to make sure that you can, instill these good habits in yourself and being able to learn as much. Learning is key. Learning is make sure you have access to that. If you don't have access to a book, go to the library. That's free all the time. I prefer to listen to things on Audible. I find that to be very easy and more easier to just listen to and gain knowledge from.
Especially like when driving and stuff. And real quick, I want to shout out the Worcester Public Library, who does have an app where you can get free audiobooks. You just have to have a library card. That's the only requirement. So
that's it. So just make sure that you read a lot. You know, you find a passion on something that you're doing, that you want to go after. If you are imagining a life that you want, that's your greatest asset. Is continue using your imagination, because the more you use it, the more powerful you're going to reflect that into the universe, and the universe is going to respond and give you the things that you're asking for. And whatever you create in your mind, you can receive that. You can gain that. You just got to make sure that you constantly and consistently do that.
Consistency is absolutely
Consistency is key. Consistency is key. Awareness is key, and making sure that you're instilling good habits.
Yeah.
And not allowing the negative shit to affect you in any way. You control the inside of this, right? All this, you control that.
Yeah. And I will say, I don't know if this is the same for you, but I've gone through a lot of really negative phases in my life. I've experienced a lot of negativity. And I fed into that, and my life got worse. It wasn't until I went to therapy and and I was taught how.
But therapy's good though. Let's not.
Well, I was taught how
I've been through therapy, and it helped.
Channel that energy into this, just like I'm sure you were taught how to rechannel that energy into IG Worcester. And so before we wrap it up here, I do want to give a couple of shout outs real quick. Thank you so much for everyone in the chat for being there and for talking and for engaging. Thank you so much to those Tati Garcia. I don't want to say that. Yeah, Tati Garcia and Kevin Navarro for donating stars. We appreciate that so much. It helps us with everything we do here, keep us sustainable, keep us going. And I really want to shout out this. I don't even know if these are still available.
Ooh, get it, girl. Get it. Get it, girl. Get it, girl.
Whoopreneur. We gotta go some real quick. Tell me about Whoopreneur. And
the Whoopreneur.
Or is this like
you got it right there at the last minute. The Whoopreneur, the understanding of a Whoopreneur is the idea that you live here in the city, you create here in the city, you build in the city, and you're here for the community, and all that entails of what it says right there in the smaller letters: live, work, and build. You become a Whoopreneur, and that's your noun, and if you got a job here, like this, you're a Whoopreneur. Mr. Munchie's a Whoopreneur.
That's right.
Anybody out there doing a business in the city,
Hollywood Film Group.
That's right. You're a Whoopreneur. I wish I could have more shirts, but oh man, you got the iconic
what you can
image
do
on you.
Is you go right now and follow IGWORCMA on Instagram. Is it on Facebook as well?
No, not on Facebook because they keep deleting us. So
yeah, whatever.
But that's how you win. You with consistency you win.
That's right. And so go follow IG Worcester, IGWORCMA, and then get in them DMs and request a shirt. And I'm sure if there's enough of you requesting shirts and we have enough pre-orders, Jaime will get right on it. And
if y'all be like,
hey, listen, money's up.
If y'all make facts, if you make it a demand, trust me, I can make it happen.
We can make it happen.
Right.
So, Jaimes Flores, everybody, thank you so much, my brother, for joining me. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me here, man. I want you to succeed. I want you guys to succeed, everybody to succeed, because your support, that's important.
And I appreciate being a colleague of yours in the community. I love when we go to places together and we meet up and, we're both bringing a different perspective to the community. So thank you for everything you do.
Appreciate it.
And with that being said, I'm getting the finger over here, so it's definitely time to go. It's your boy, Manny, and
Jaimes Flores Photography.
You told me I had to call you Jaime this whole time.
I was saying that. I said it like that so I can keep it on air a little longer.
All right.
But it's Jaimes Flores Photography.
Manny J Media, community delivered. We'll see you real soon. Peace.
Silence.